The arrival of autumn brings some of the nicest weather of the year to central Pennsylvania. Chilly mornings turn into warm afternoons, and humidity is generally low. People head outdoors to engage in all sorts of fall-like activities, and at the top of the list for most, apple picking. Unfortunately this year, Center County orchards are bare, hard hit by a late-season frost back in the spring. Think back to March. Central Pennsylvania and most of the country was treated to a month of unprecedented warmth, according to NOAA. It was the warmest March on record in Pennsylvania, and temperatures nationwide ran more than 8 degrees above normal. A whopping 15,000 warm temperature records fell during the month. While few complained at the time, the early season warmth left local farmers on the precipice of disaster. Confused by the sudden surge of warmth, apple trees jolted to life weeks ahead of schedule. Chris Harner of Harner Farm and State College knew the proverbial other shoe would fall as temperatures returned to normal, but he didn't know when. He got his answer by early April.
The first week in April came around, the weather got back to, seasonal temperatures, and the one night it was 21 degrees. And that evening, the apples are full bloom, they're very, susceptible to a freeze, and just totally wiped out the whole crop.
The risk of frost damage exists every year in Center County until roughly Memorial Day, according to Harner, but substantial steps are rarely taken to protect against it.
Well, we're kind of at the mercy of Mother Nature. Now, if it didn't get so cold, there are some things you can do. Irrigation's one of them, sludge pots, you see a lot of that stuff down south. Now, we don't do either.
Unfortunately, Mother Nature won this year. A typical harvest of 15,000 bushels was obliterated overnight.
We've always had a crop. Some years we've had bad freezes and had a small crop. Now this year, we had a really bad freeze and we don't have any crop at all. We're not going to be picking one single apple off any of our trees this whole season.
It's a disappointing position to be in for the family-owned farm, which has been harvesting apples for nearly 70 years.
It costs an awful lot of money to maintain an orchard. And when you don't get any return, it's a huge loss. So it's, I'd say it's probably, a good 50% of our business.
Despite the destroyed apple crop, Harner Farm is still expecting success this season, thanks in part to their dedication to their Christmas tree crop, their corn, and other vegetables. In addition to buoying business by beefing up the sweet corn, pumpkin, and tomato crop, Harner Farm is working to bring in other locally grown apples that escaped the spring freeze, thanks in part to elevation differences.
Bring them in, as close as we can get them. There's a orchard down in Sunbury, Dries Orchards, where we usually ship a lot of our apples to, and, fortunately this year he had a nice crop.
Of course, that isn't nearly as cost-effective as growing and selling your own apples, so the price of apples region-wide is expected to rise this fall.
With, New York State got frozen out pretty bad, Michigan, Carolina, so the cost of apples is up too.
And although Mother Nature took a bite out of Harner Farm's apple season, it still promises to be an exciting fall here on the farm. For Weather or Not, I'm Michael Page.